Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we are joined by Tamara Walsh, founder of AI Empowerment Now, a Miami based AI transformation company helping businesses, entrepreneurs, educators, and parents succeed with generative AI. She began her career as a financial journalist covering the tech sector in 2009, and Tamara founded AI Empowerment Now. Um, Shortly after attending a YPO Artificial Intelligence Conference for Founders in early 2023 with the goal of spreading AI literacy. During the summer of 2024, she launched her AI Optimist YouTube channel, which has quickly grown to over 3 lakh subscribers. Congratulations on that, Tamra.
Thank
Uh,
you.
with her background in technology communication, I think you have become a trusted voice in helping communities navigate AI's opportunities and challenges alike. And we are super excited to have you and can't wait to hear your insights on AI literacy today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So we thought we'll just start by addressing the elephant in the room first. You know, the moment somebody talks about AI in education, one of the loudest concerns that we hear from almost every stakeholder is about cheating. And the concern is not unfounded as well. Like a recent investigation found thousands of UK students caught cheating with AI, and an Edweek survey also revealed many students openly admitting to using AI for shortcutting assignments. And globally, more than 80% of students are now using AI, and the numbers are just rising. And these are real concerns about integrity as well. So, how do you see the situation? Is this an indication of just panic due to this transforming landscape, or do you see it as a sign that we need to rethink literacy and integrity beyond just policing this AI misuse?
We definitely need to think beyond just policing the
Mm.
misuse. The system needs to change. Our
Right.
current education system, we have an opportunity now with AI to redesign it
Hmm.
and to actually have it work for the students better than it has been. So I think that, we need these systems were created to
Hmm.
create a certain type of person who could go to work, be punctual and obedient employees, when really I think we have an opportunity now to design it for what we actually need in society, which are divergent thinkers and leaders and people who will really push the bounds of what's possible. And I think that this technological shift gives us that opportunity. But we're missing the forest for the trees when we are so narrowly focused on cheating with
Hmm.
AI. I mean, students have always cheated. So this isn't something new. I think we just
Right.
need to create new systems and policies that actually facilitate learning with AI.
Right. You brought about a very important point that students have always been cheating. It's not just that it is happening just at this moment. But then, interestingly, we have a survey like AAAC and U Elon Survey 2024, and it put forth very pertinent questions. So, the survey essentially reports that 59% of leaders in higher education report more cheating since AI arrived. But in contrast, 91% of them also believe that AI can enhance learning. So this is like there is a tension between misuse and meaningful use of AI. And this kind of sits at the heart of AI literacy. So how do you think institutions should approach this balance between innovation and risk management? Because you rightly pointed out that we need people who are independent thinkers and who are critical about things, and we want them to be, great people who are into innovation and are embracing technology. But how do you think can institutions and leaders in higher education can approach this balance essentially?
Yeah, I mean, integrity won't come from bans or inaccurate AI detectors. It just won't. It comes from
Right.
redesigning work in a way where learning leaves evidence and it's
Mm,
more of a collaborative thing. But
mm,
I think that that comes down to, integrating AI use into the process of learning
mm,
and telling students exactly when it's okay to use AI and when it's
mm,
not, and
mm,
being able to use citation and cite your AI use,
mm,
um, and make them prove their understanding. There's so many ways to measure mastery of a topic versus the traditional write an essay on this. You could teach the class or teach a small group or present on the topic. So there's a bunch of different ways, but I think, that just using bans or these detectors, it causes, the trust between teacher and student to erode,
Mhm.
especially when these teachers are using AI tools to grade the work, but then the students aren't allowed to use them to think deeper with the work or to learn. It doesn't make sense. And that's a huge disconnect that I think, with AI development and training for faculty, we could really see a huge difference where it's more of a collaborative process.
Right. Um, I really liked how you talked about bans and how we are not going anywhere with just bans and, just using detection tools. So, and also about AI literacy being a fundamental thing for students as it is for faculty members. So I thought this is a nice, I think we are at the heart of the introduction of this podcast where I think it is important for us to define AI literacy. How do you see AI literacy, Tamra? Can you let us know about that?
Yeah, this is a great question. I love that you asked this because too many times people don't ever ask that. AI literacy is thrown around so much. Everybody's talking about it, but nobody has really defined it. So I think it's important. It's not just using AI tools. That's not AI literacy. AI literacy is understanding how generative AI works, understanding machine learning, that it's a probability machine. It's, predicting the next word or token. That's so important to understand. And once you understand that, you get better at using the tools because you understand how they're coming to the output that they're giving you. So I think that it should be taught in all schools. And this was really controversial to say a year ago when I was saying, as even as early as kindergarten. And obviously, the kindergarten level, we're not talking about, you know, if then processes or anything. We're talking just like this isn't magic. It's just predicting the next word and teaching them. And there's so many tools from Google and things like Quick Draw where you can really teach young kids what it is, and in a really fun and engaging way, even though they might not be using it the way that older or college level students are. But it's really important that we start to teach kids of all different ages what it is, and faculty. I mean, if if faculty can't audit their own work, if students at a college level don't know how to audit their own AI work, then they're not literate yet. So it comes down to understanding how generative AI works, and then of course experimenting and using it. But just being able, I don't think that you can say that you're AI literate until you can audit your own work and go back and say, okay, let's think about the output that it just gave me. Maybe cross-reference it with other large language models or other AI search tools like Perplexity or research tools. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but it comes down to, fact checking outputs against other AI, and not even all AI. You could do like peer-reviewed papers, or there's other ways to fact check and just teaching those things. So sorry to break this down.
No, no,
Um,
no.
Obviously, understanding AI literacy is understanding actually how it works, what the technology, how it's coming to the output that it is, and then explaining how systems fail. What is bias? How is bias in the training data? All of those things, most people have no idea, but it's so important, and it's really not complicated. You don't have to be a technical person to understand that. But once you do, the way you use the tools, the way you use Gen AI tools will change. And once you're able to do that and audit your own AI use, I mean, it's sky's the limit. There's so much you can do with it.
That's actually a very comprehensive definition of AI literacy. I think that everybody should go by because most often it is often confused with AI fluency, which is more about just knowing how to use the tools, like right now there are bans about using AI tools in universities, but even just to know how to use AI tools is not sufficient. To understand their biases, how to use them responsibly, the ethics into all of this picture, and all of the molecular mechanisms, how does it work in the back end, is something that is truly important. So thanks a lot for bringing that up. And like you rightly pointed it out, that AI literacy is not just an add-on skill. Do you think it should be embedded in the curriculum design? Because right now it is just seen as something that people can just pick it up from workshops and things like that, right? So how important do you think it's important here?
For sure. It shouldn't just be in computer science. It should be across all disciplines. It should be embedded into the process of learning at all different levels, what all different grades, all different subjects, subject matter. It needs to be you know, it needs to be taught at all different stages, I think.
Right. But like, can you also break down like kind of metrics that institutions can use to track the, measure and the competence of students in terms of AI literacy itself? Because people are looking forward to include that, but then how exactly do we track the effectiveness of it? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you can track how effective how students are applying what they learn to like real life situations. You can track how students show their thinking process. So that's, you know, with AI. And also like you can have the students explain the topics to other students or in conversations. You can measure how accurate or reliable certain AI tools are. You can also, I think this is really important to make sure that different groups of students have equal access. I think that we'll see that as a major issue, especially this is like going really deep,
Yeah.
but when you talk about access to compute power, some people are going to have more access to more compute power than others. So we need to make sure if this is going to be a success, we need to make sure that students across all groups have equal access to these tools and also equal access to the education that in terms of learning it and how it works and how best to use it. We're seeing, I mean, really small study that came out of MIT, but how it affects brain function and cognitive
Right.
load.
Yeah.
So that's really important too. On the flip side is, are you using it correctly where
Yep.
you still have enough cognitive load that you're using your brain in ways that will optimize learning versus detracting from it. So I think
Yeah.
all of those ways are all of these are different ways that we can measure its effectiveness. Also, like how many teachers are using these approaches. So yeah, it's just really important that we do have the metrics in place to track, but there's lots of ways that you can track its effectiveness.
Right. I think you brought about a very important point to this discussion, which is the equity and access of AI and such technological advancements to everybody, to all students equally. So, when we are talking about institutions embracing technology and AI, there is obviously the question about funding and resources, and all of that comes into picture. So, how can smaller institutions or underrepresented regions, how can they begin implementing AI literacy initiatives? How do you think can others help in this particular regard?
Yeah, I think it comes down to finding there's so many pockets of AI enthusiasts
Mm.
who really believe in how the potential for this technology to the like what it can do for some students in terms of finding their learning gap. Even with my young kids, I see this. My own kids, just it learns about them and can find the learning gaps. And then since for example, my daughter who's 9, she was having learning fractions and using AI to practice her fractions, and she was really confused by some simple fractions, and the AI knew she loved cooking. So it used the analogy of cooking and she was just bought in immediately. And we know scientifically that the brain learns better when it's engaged. And how do you engage somebody except something that they love? And you know, so there's so many ways. So it's really important. and that we make this accessible to everybody. I mean, we will be able to lift up entire classes of like entire groups of people if we can give them access to this. So in terms of how do the question was, how do groups that don't have as many resources, how do we, I think that there are the pockets of enthusiasts, AI advocates, things like that, that need to go in and help and start. And that's what I'm doing in Miami here. In all of my free time, I volunteer speaking at schools and working with students and parents. I work with a lot of parents, and then just changing also the stigma. There's the parents are worried about screen time. There's all of these stigmas, or I'm not technical enough. But I mean, if you know how to type an email, then you can figure out, Gen
Yeah.
AI, no problem. So
You want to add something, Tam?
no, it's okay. I was going to say also that the faculty, we really do need to be educating the faculty. I attended a conference last year, and
Hmm.
a public school teacher here in the United States said, I will never allow AI in my classroom. And I thought that was a very short-sighted view and opinion to have. And I was so glad that I don't have a child in her class, because I think when you just dismiss it entirely like that, you're missing a
Yeah.
huge opportunity, and for your students as well. So educating faculty is really important.
That's a very important point. Like you said, like how parents are important for students to learn, for their children to learn. Faculty play the next big role in a student's life. And uh, unfortunately, a recent data like that shows that 80% of faculty lack clear guidance on appropriate AI use. Like you rightly said, AI literacy and responsible use of AI. While we are talking about how students are using AI, people are not talking as much about faculties and their empowerment in AI and embracing it essentially. So for them, it is kind of important for them to understand it so that they can pass that on to their students. And such kind of lack of clear guidance kind of leaves educators to independently navigate this changing landscape. And this has been the case for quite some time now. So, in your view, what is the danger of doing this? Like, and how can institutions empower faculty with AI literacy frameworks? What kind of trainings that they can give? Like, how do you think we can approach this situation?
Yeah, the danger, we're already seeing the danger, at least in the United States, with teachers and faculty, because they're afraid of students just using this all the time. They're over relying on tools like the AI detectors, which are inaccurate. If they're not 100% accurate, if you come to me and tell me that my child cheated, I'm I'm not going to accept that. I'm sorry. It's just, especially if you have English speaking in the United States, um, students, we know that they have a higher chance of being flagged for using these when many times they're not. So that's one of the dangers. Another danger is really confusing policy, where even the students are confused. Can I use it for this project? Can I not? We have a high school here that had implemented a red light, green light, yellow light system. So every project that the students get, there's a color coded, and they know if it's yellow, they can moderate use of AI. If it's red, you absolutely cannot use AI. So just little systems like that might help. Also, faculty need to understand the basics of machine learning. They need to understand that it's a prediction machine, everything like that. That's basic, right? But even way beyond that, there need to be flexible professional development that's ongoing for faculty. And maybe that looks like a resource library, an AI curated AI resource library, where the teachers can go and like experiment with the different tools and be using them, and just having that ongoing professional development and using them with the students too. I would also suggest setting up, this is when I go into businesses and I help businesses find out where their opportunities are and help them rebuild systems with AI automation, all automations and AI and all that. I always tell them you should open a Slack channel or something where your employees can talk about what's working for them, what's not. Well, teachers need that too. They should be encouraged. I mean, almost incentivized, even like reward them for trying out new teaching approaches with AI and sharing that with other faculty members. so that we can really learn from each other and move this along more quickly.
Right. I think you brought about a very important point about the continuous nature of learning for faculty, because most often it's like you go attend one workshop or you just have one training module and then you are all set for life. No, it's not like that, because it's changing, and then there's development almost every single day. And therefore, it's important for them to also have a continuous learning process and approach it in a different way, where they are also learning and that they are passing down those thought processes to their students as well. And I think you also touched upon another very important point about institutions and faculty turning to AI detectors, where at times they might also be flawed because of high false positive rates and biases, and things like that, essentially. And I think it's important for us to rather switch gears from is it cheating to is it learning. So I think always we are caught behind people about about cheating. Are students cheating? Are they using AI to bypass assignments and
Yes.
tests and things like that? But I think we are losing the main point about concerns regarding their learning processes. Are they enjoying it? Are they actually learning that they are supposed to be learning? And almost for the entire part of academia, we always focus on the final products, which is the assignments or test scores and things like that, but not the process itself. So I just wanted to ask you, like, do you think tools or technologies that will let us track the efforts or understand authorship verification, or which can help us understand and track the process and can give us more insights on that so that we can support the students much better? So do you think such technologies would be an add-on value rather than just detecting whether it was AI written, whether it
For
was cheating?
sure. I used DocuMark a little bit and dug into that, and I think it's an amazing tool that should be implemented very broadly because it that's what it is. It's more of a collaborative process. And you can go back through and you can see which is the AI's work, which is not, and how the process broke down and how did they learn? How did they go deeper on this subject? And I love that. I think that that is where we succeed versus just looking at the final output. Like we need to reinvent the entire system, and it starts with tools like that for sure. It's yeah.
Yeah. It's great to hear that you have like done your own digging through our service. For those who might not have known about it, I would just like to give a very quick understanding. So essentially, how DocuMark works is that it it offers a proactive approach, like you said. Instead of detecting whether it was AI written, it kind of tries to understand the student effort and understands the engagement. It gives an engagement score, and it does content classification, a smart content classification on whether it is a copy pasted text or an AI generated text or whether it is a written text. People can use generative AI because it is developed by Trinka, which is an AI tool, and we have a guided verification process, and that kind of marks whether people have used AI. They can use AI, but they can go back and edit the AI's written words. That means that the students understand what AI has generated. They are verifying, cross verifying, exactly like you said, not just copy pasting the AI thing, but then actually source verifying it, understanding the context in which AI has given that, whether it is meaningful or not, and how you would interpret it and things like that, essentially, which would make it much more easier for people to understand. And this also gives faculty a little bit of an edge to understand why students are using AI, where they are using AI. Maybe the student is writing for the initial bits, but there are specific sections that the student is not comfortable with, or maybe the student is using it only for language enhancements. Because one of the common issue with AI detectors is that if you use AI detectors for spell check and grammar check and things like that, at times it gets paraphrased, and paraphrasing at times changes the meaning of it, and that gets detected while the student themselves have done the original work. So using tools like DocuMark would actually help teachers understand like the engagement patterns of students and would help them help students much better. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think it's fantastic. And it moves you from accusatory AI detection to a collaborative process where the students are showing their work and you can see who wrote what and what really went into the thinking and the process. So I think it's fantastic.
Right. Definitely. And interestingly, there was another survey in 2025 which found that 50% of students who took the survey wanted AI tools designed specifically for education. That sounds like a real call to action. It's not that students are running away from AI, they want to truly embrace it and they want to do it the right way. Some students also told in a different survey that they want to be included in the AI related decision making processes, which means exactly what you said, that people do not want to be seen from an accusatory tone that they are cheating, but rather to be actively involved in the process related to, understanding AI and things like that. So, what is your vision for the future of AI in higher education? How do you think we can involve students in this process as much as possible?
I think that students should be, I mean, starting in probably high school, involved in the decision making, involved in the policy making of, when are these tools appropriate? Obviously, the AI literacy component has to come first. Students need to have a deep understanding of how this technology works and how to use it ethically and how to check for bias and all of the things that we've talked about. But once that foundation is there, I think that they should be involved in the policy making. Really important at some level, you know. So I think we need systems in place that involve the students in that, because not only do the students know because they're using it to learn, but also it gives them like authorship and ownership over that, over
Definitely.
the use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is also another important part, that about authorships, because even in terms of research, people talk about not crediting AI as an author because AI is generating that information from existing resources, but not creating something out all of a sudden. And then that does not essentially have a responsibility factor or accountability factor that humans have. And therefore, navigating the sections of authorship is a crucial factor in terms of using AI for creating content. So, thanks for talking about that. And finally, I think it's important for us also to talk about the stakeholders who feel hesitant or overwhelmed by this AI shift. You started with that, so I would like to end it with that again, because I think while there are people who are advocating for AI literacy and all of such tools as much as possible, there's also a significant set of population which is kind of not pro AI. And it is not just about that, but also to understand AI literacy and what it means, like you have rightly pointed out throughout the course of this podcast. So, is there anything specific that you would want to add as a call to action for them?
Yeah, I think I work a lot with parents in my AI advocacy role. And I think a lot of parents are worried about screen time or over reliance on AI. And, to that, I would say not all screen time is created equal. And it just comes down to educating them on. And then the other thing I hear is, well, it's just, I'm so overwhelmed. There's too much coming out. I can't keep up with this. But you don't have to keep up with this. I would recommend you start with one large language model. So maybe that's ChatGPT, or if you're using Google's services a lot, like Google Sheets and things like that, maybe it's Gemini, Claude, whatever it is, pick one of them and master it. Learn everything you can about it. Practice iteration. Make sure you give it feedback on what you like, what you don't like. Cross reference with other AI research tools or peer reviewed papers. There's things like that. So you don't have to be overwhelmed. You don't need to try a bunch of different tools. You just need to, and there's so many free resources. I mean, you can educate yourself on YouTube, but also in Google's AI Essentials course is fantastic, or an IBM has one, and most large tech companies, most universities have free machine learning courses that you can just get online. So there's really no excuse to educate yourself. We're at such a cool time in history. I'm loving this because there's never been a better time to be empowered and to educate yourself. So everybody should do that. I just encourage everyone to do that.
Right. I completely agree with you. And I think whatever you have said also applies equally to students, because most of the times it's students who are trying to use AI but are at times a little bit overwhelmed, or like they're not sure which AI to use, because there are so many, like you said, there are so many AI systems very much specially designed for specific purposes, which are much better than generic models. So to get oneself updated about these AI tools and then to use them in the right way, as we have talked about, I think that would truly empower every student, and then not just use it as a cognitive offload where they can just bypass it, but then actually to use it as a partner in thinking and then make them better critical thinkers and independent people, essentially. So,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I just want to say one more thing.
yeah.
You don't
Please.
have to be a technical person. I don't have a tech background. I was a tech, I wrote about technology for
Mhm.
the Motley Fool stock, like about stocks, but I have no background in anything. I don't run a tech company. I never did. But thanks to what's called natural language processing, any computers now understand our natural language. So there is no excuse. Like you can learn anything and just take it little by little. And it's amazing what you can do and what you can do for your kids also with this technology. So I just encourage everyone to start learning about it.
That's very true. There are a lot of wonderful, very nicely curated resources out there for people to go learn it from any day, right from today. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Tamra, for sharing your insights on navigating AI readiness in this post-GPT era. I think it's clear from our conversation that being AI ready or being AI literate is not just about tools, but it's about culture, ethics, and collective action. And to our listeners, I hope you are inspired to rethink AI integration beyond detection, towards building environments where students, parents, educators, everybody, every stakeholder involved are critically engaged and creatively engaged and are using AI responsibly. And if you would like to explore how DocuMark can operationalize these values by emphasizing learning outcomes over detection, visit us at Trinka for resources, demos, and continued discussions on building an AI literate and AI ready academic future. Until next time, this is Parvathy Venkateswaran signing off. Stay tuned and stay curious.